There are some problems with DSM-4, and I think the people involved in the task force for DSM-5 thought we're at this cutting edge. We've learned so much about neuroscience, the brain, the biology of mental illness, that it would be great if they could begin to incorporate some of that. And then my understanding is that when they sat down to look at what was there, it was less clear than they thought. And also genetics, they were hoping to incorporate that and have, I think the original fantasy was to be able to talk about biomarkers and things that might help make differential diagnosis that were tests that could be performed, medical tests, genomic tests. So that was, and understandably, if the field were at that point, that would help rethink diagnoses. The goal was to really think about how to reorganize chapters. So they were open to that, and again, I think as they sat down to look at it, the data weren't where they should be to make that leap. And then there are political issues about making the changes. So it was a great hope, and we're just not there. So that's, I think, what the original goal was for DSM-5. And then as it wasn't there, its reason for being became much more complicated of why bother to have a new edition if it's not ready, if you're just going to really tweak a little bit of what's there, why not just wait? Critics will point to the fact that DSM-5 has been pushed forward, and they even dropped a testing phase to test whether the new diagnoses were valid and reliable. And they dropped that just so that they could stay on schedule. And so that's part of the criticism, is that not only was it a hurried job in the end phases, but that the most critical piece, which is that it should be a relatively valid and reliable document, is not true. The second phase of testing that they dropped is the one in which they hone the language and the criteria for each disorder, and then they test it again. So they did a phase one of this, which is that they had some general idea of what the criteria would be, and the language, which was not actually well written in some cases, and then they test that. But then they were supposed to refine it and test it again. And that second phase was not done.